Alright guys, it's been a while since we've done a loadout build, and today we're going to be doing it around the Cool Mint Moto Gloves and the best combos that exist for them. And let's get right into it. The knife and glove combo, of course the gloves are going to be the Moto Gloves Cool Mint. I've went for them in field tested. I found this pair on the market. They're 0.22 float, they're pattern 819 if you care to know the pattern. And they come in about $525. They do still get some wear coming through, but overall, they're pretty clean. And then I've opted to pair it with an M9 Blue Steel, which in field test, it comes in at $885. Now, the reason I've done this is because I believe, personally, that for Moto Gloves and those chunky knuckles, it means you have to have a big mean knife, and we do have two alternative knives you can also consider. Keeping that long blade that sort of works with it nicely, unique pattern, very unique animations. We have the classic knife, which is $224. Also in field test. If you're wondering, I just quite like Blue Steel in field test. No other real reason outside of that. And then if you wanted to go cheaper, again, I think Bowie knife is the best bet. And like, the reason I'm saying this is because it actually gets that nice accent color at the bottom, or not the bottom of the blade, top of the handle, which means it pairs in really nicely overall color-wise. And this is $185. Alright, the CT agent of choice is going to be Special Agent Ava. She is $17.50. Man, the market rises have been high. But you can see here, on a blue shading, not 100%, but it's pretty damn close, and I think that consistency of Ava into the gloves, into the knife, just looks pretty mean. Now, one thing I'm going to say now is the recent updates blessed us with new blue additions, which is really nice, and if I am using a new skin, you're going to see asterisks on the price over that way, just because the pricing is going to change, like, within hours of this going live. For the USP, I'm sick of suggesting the blueprint, and honestly, none of the blue USPs really match perfectly with the Cool Mint, so I'm going to go Royal Guard, $23.59 minimal wear. If you don't like this, you can use a blueprint, but really, we're in a bit of a tough spot when it comes to USPs that pair perfectly with the Cool Mints. Over on the P250 side of things, it's going to be a Valance. This one is pretty close to being perfect because I think those shades of blue pair nicely with the inside of the gloves, and it's only 21 cents, so pretty damn easy. If you can't tell, we're going CT pistol first, but of course the P250 and the Deagle you can use on T side, and we have the Cobalt Disruption coming in for the Desert Eagle of choice. This one, I will say, again, not perfect blues, but across the board, it's a mean-looking Deagle, and then you've got a mean-looking knife animation afterwards. That's kind of nice. I always like the Joe Berettas have a little bit of, like, fun to them, so I've gone for the Melodramas here. It costs you just over $3 in minimal wear, and you can get in the battle scarred, but that melon face gets creepy as shit. And then 5.7, you're going to go for a field tested monkey business. This will run you $3.27, and in field tested, this is 0.27 float, and it holds up pretty damn well. Now, as I've sort of referenced to, this update saved some of the issues that we had in blue loadouts. For example, the MP9, we actually have two options here. The first one, the Cobalt Paisley. The artwork on this is fantastic. Multiple styles of blue, which means even though the blue in the gloves isn't 100% on point, this is still a pretty nice combination for $7 at the minute. Obviously, price will come down. And then the cheaper alternative is the Buff Blue, which is about $1.50 at the minute in the same collection. So this one will be much cheaper compared to the Paisley. Overall, Paisley is better, but if you don't fancy, you don't like that pattern, you don't want to spend that much on an MP9, then the Buff Blue is for you. I do feel like when it comes to the Cool Mints, anodized navies are kind of like the easy cop-out one, but when they work, they work. So MP7 here is under $1, anodized navy does the job. And I'd be lying if I said that the UMP wasn't awkward for blue. I'm going to go exposure because it's also under $1 at like 72 cents. It's minimal wear, it's clean. By no means perfect, but it will do the job for a weapon that you really don't use that much. And we get the Blue Steel vibe back. For the XM, I think it's just without a doubt the best choice. And then the plus side is you're only spending about 12 cents to pick this up. And I let my bias come through for the Mag 7. Justice for me, gotta be the pick. $4.50 in minimal wear. If for whatever reason, prepare yourself, this loadout is expensive. For whatever reason you don't want to spend as much on a Mag 7, I would say just get it and field test it and save like $1 or so. But I kind of prelude it to the expensive side. Here we have the Emperor ONS Blue Phosphor coming in at $580. So nice and cheap if you ask me. But I had a look at like the Icarus Fell, it's too like light blue. I had a look at the Guardian, doesn't really match. So I ended up just going like Blue Phosphor for me. I just rocked this and vibe out. Not perfect, but looks the part. And then a S tier skin that doesn't cost $500. We have the Emperor. It's 10 times cheaper. It's just under $50. Fantastic skin. One of my favorites. Not much more to say. What I do think will catch some people by surprise is the op pick, because I have gone for the Medusa for a cheap $2,400 in minimal wear. I actually think Although, I always say, would like to see the snakes of a hair around the scope. Some scope design would have been nice. How it blends in on the blue side of things looks fantastic, and obviously when you do inspect it, you get to see Medusa and all those snakes and those different shades. If you opt and you've got the budget, this is incredible. If you don't for either of those, then you're probably looking at the Man of War for $40, or you could even just go for the Aetherius with its blue base if you want like an under $5 op and like field test it, for example. And then what I'm really happy with is the Famis. I think this Yeti camo is absolutely perfect for it. Honestly, like that bottom bit which connects to the gloves is as close to perfect color pairing as you're ever going to get in Counter-Strike, and in general the skin is just really nice. However, I'm looking forward to the day this is more like $3 rather than almost $7. Then over on the AUG side of things, the Aristocrat is basically like an anodized navy with some extra design on it, and it's $1.15. Not many people use the AUG, and it's going to be such a small part of the loadout. I'm happy to pay this for it and not force anything else. And then when it comes to the T-side agent, I had to go for Sir Bloody Silent Arrow, that's the one, and he's $30. For me, when it comes to blue gloves, I think the silver accents work best. That's what we have here, and you can disagree with me if you want, but you're wrong. And the only sort of still annoying bit, I think, for the Cool Mints is the Glock options. I looked at all of them, and none of them had like the right shade of blue. Now, of course, as I keep mentioning, sometimes that's not possible in CS, and when you're in game, really, you will forget sometimes, so just it being blue is good. And with that in mind, $50 for Bunsen Burner Minwear does the job. On the Tech 9, I think I'm going to need to hear me out, because I appreciate that top color, the Blue Blast, isn't a perfect pairing, but the bottom pairs quite nicely with the color of the gloves, and we got like 2 different shades of blue going on here. I just think for 24 cents, this is pretty solid. Feel free to skip this one if you don't like the Aria. I went for the Llama Cannon. It is $5, so like I say, if you don't use the Aria or you don't want to spend this much on Aria, just don't buy it. But if you do want to and you're sick with the Aria, like some of my teammates are, pick it up. On the Mac 10 side of things, it was a little frustrating, I'm not going to lie. Some of the go-to picks, just, they weren't that accurate. But strats, 80 cent minimal wear, it came in and it did a job for us. And the fact it's so cheap, I can kind of let it slide, the fact that it's not my favourite Mac 10. The PP binding, right, we don't want to spend much money, and we're not going to force a colour match, which means the Night Riot for 11 cent minimum wear is going to do the job, and you guys are just going to enjoy it. And maybe I was getting a bit too excited about the new collections, but I think the like secondary and tertiary colours of the gloves paired in with the Reef Brief actually look pretty good. And the Reef Brief is a 6 skin, currently just over $6. Again, let's see this like half in price, and then we're really happy. And when I'm planning this loadout, I knew straight away the Stone Cold was going to go in. It may not be that perfect blue pairing that we keep referencing to, but it's the best blue like Gale that doesn't actually, it is just the best blue Gale in my opinion. $3.50 minimal wear, and that makes it even better. And then we have the AK-47, the one that you're probably waiting for. My main suggestion is going to be the Inheritance. I did also have a look at the Vulcan, but the blue color is just way too off. Here at least I think the magazine pairs nice enough with the gloves. It will run you $142. I have an alternative that's a little bit of a left field pick, but works surprisingly well. And that's going to be the Elite Museo. We've actually had this fit into loadouts a couple of times recently, and my thing for this is, especially that blue at the end of the gun, at the barrel end, it pairs fantastically well with the gloves. I think when you're using it in game like this even, like, this actually works really well. If you like this skin, I would be getting this instead of the Inheritance, even though I prefer the Inheritance as a skin. And this is basically a third of the price. And we end off with 2 new skins. Now, you might be looking at me and thinking, what the hell am I thinking pairing the Blush Pour with this? But the reason I'm doing it is actually where the gloves are for like the handle and the gripping areas, the blues are pretty damn close, and then obviously you just get this really nice effect on the Scout in general. Again, $5.50. I want to see this closer to $2 in the future. Hopefully it'll get there, but for now, that's what you're looking at. And I know I said the anodized navy is like a cheat code, but I hate how it looks on the SG, and the fact that the new night camo is 19 cent in minimal wear already. I thought we just have to go for that. And that completes what I believe are the best combos with the Cool Mint gloves. You guys can let me know in the comments down below, or disagree with me and let me know what was missing. But if you were to build this full loadout, if you went with the M9, which is my primary suggestion, you'd be looking at a total loadout cost of $4,779. Now, keep in mind, this is basically $4,800, right? We can round it to that. Half of that cost is in the op at $2,400. So if you don't want that op, you're talking under $2,500 loadout, which is great. If you want that up, but you think it's still a little bit pricey, if you went for the likes of the classic knife, you'd be dropping that down to $4,118. So you're getting a decent chunk of savings if you don't care to have the big beefy M9. And then if you want to save that extra $40, you can go for the Bowie knife. But for me personally, I think you should be going for the Classic or the M9. And hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I do have the next few videos planned for the series based on previous requests. But if there's any gloves you've not seen me cover in this so far that you want to see, let me know in the comments down below and I'll do my best to get around to them. And I'm going to stop my waffling there. Hope you guys enjoyed seeing another loadout video after a couple days of just like looking at the new skins. And hit the like button if you did. Hit the subscribe button if you're around here. Making the push to 8K subs and all the support is greatly appreciated. We'll catch you in the next one, guys. Goodbye.